Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to be driving today because I have the notepad out and I just want to make sure that I'm reading all the information here, so I got to be a little safe with the way that I drive. Maybe I'll start driving towards the end of the video, but I'll probably just do it all stationary today. So a couple of days ago, maybe about a week ago, I made a post on Reddit about a major money milestone that I hit. I'm going to link to that post in the description below. I'm not going to post any videos. Some of you may know already that I don't really edit these videos. I just upload them raw when I get to work. I literally just, from YouTube Studio, just upload them directly from my phone. So I'll put that link in the description so you can read more about the context there, the money milestone that I hit. And frankly, it's something I'm very proud of. And people started asking me a lot of questions, which is something that I thought really would never happen. And it felt really good to be able to help people out. I think that's probably one of the most satisfying, feelings in the world, to be able to help people out with anything that you are even somewhat decent at. And I'm not saying that I'm a financial expert. I'm absolutely not a financial advisor, but I at least wanted to go over some of the 6 things that I wish I knew earlier in my investing career. I helped out about 4 or 5 people that sent me direct messages, and I even had a thread in that post, if you go visit it on Reddit, of these 6 things that I'm about to outline, but I thought it'd be cool to make a video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right to the first one here. So for some of you that work with an employer, some of you that work in a big company, for me, I work in tech. I'm not in a big tech company. I'm probably like in a mid-tech company, but a lot of employers offer something that's a 401k, right? It's a retirement plan you can take advantage of through your employee-sponsored 401k, and typically around 59 and a half, you can start making penalty-free withdrawals from that 401k. Now, when I first started, so I'm 32 years old now, I've been in my company for 8 years. I started at 24. When I first started at my company, I knew absolutely nothing about investing. I mean, I would hear people talk about 401k, other sort of stock picking, IRAs and whatnot, and I'm like, what are they talking about? I'm so confused. I'm never gonna learn this, and I'm here to tell you that if you just stick with it, if you do a little bit every single day, you'll get better at it, and eventually you'll end up in a place where you can at least navigate some of these apps that you use to invest, right? You can at least navigate some of the websites, you can look at charts, maybe understand a little bit about what's going on. The first one here being the 401k. Typically your company will offer what is a match. So for any type of money that you put in, they will match the contribution that you put. Now, if you go online and listen to some people, like some people I listen to, for example, you might have heard of Dave Ramsey or the Money Guy Show, or I think Aaron Talks Money. These are some great resources. They'll say to always at least take the match because it's free money. You don't have to max out your 401k for the year, but you should at least put enough money in the 401k that you can at least receive the match. So that's sort of the first tip here, but I'm going to go even a little bit further and suggest that you try to increase your contributions beyond that match, so you can max out your 401k as soon as possible. You might not do it your first year of working or even your second year of working because maybe your income is too low. You haven't gone through any promotion cycles to increase that promotion, not increase the promotion, increase your income to allow you to max out your 401k, but I would encourage you to do that as soon as possible. When I first started, I took the match, but I kept it at 6% for, maybe 3 or 4 years before I even started going up a percentage point. I probably could have gone a little more aggressive and gone even as far as 10 or 11% that first year of working to allow myself to try and max out or get to that income limit, that IRS limit, as early as possible. I think for this year, the IRS limit is $23,500. That's the most that you can put in yourself. And that's not including employer contributions, just a note there. So that's the most you can put in. So what else do I have here? To be able to do that, it means to live below your means. So if you're getting a job for the first time, it's going to be very tempting to upscale your life. And I think to some degree, it's probably okay to do that. I mean, if this is your first job out of college, maybe you've been working at a retail store, or maybe working in the food court in your college. I had some friends that did that. And for the first time, you have your own job, maybe you have your own apartment, and you want to spend a little bit and have a little bit of fun. And I do think that's very important. Life is not all about saving money. You do want to have a little bit of fun, but if you can learn to live just a little bit below your means, every dollar that you save and invest when you're younger compounds to such an amazing amount by the time you're older. I think the Money Guys did a statistic of like every dollar invested at 20 equates to like $88 in retirement age, versus by the time you're 30, that drops to like around $37. I might not have the numbers exactly right, but you can see the difference, right? Investing at 30 is $37 for every dollar. Investing at 20 is like $88 for every dollar. So it makes a big difference how early investing really pays off later on in life. So live below your means, get used to doing that. You will level up your life. I promise that you don't have to go crazy and eat like rice and beans, but make smart decisions, right? Sleep on decisions that you want to, big purchases, sleep on them. Don't go to the most expensive hotels. Don't worry about driving the best car. I've been driving this car for 8 years. I paid it off a couple of years ago, and I plan on driving it till it hits the ground, right? Just until I cannot drive it any longer, because to me, not having a car payment is amazing, and I use that money to invest, and I'll get to that a little later, but I think that covers the first point. You all get it. The next thing is to change investments in your 401k. So when I started with my company 401k, it was already putting me in something called a target date fund. Now, for people that aren't invested in learning about investing at all, I think a target date fund is great. And for many years, I was doing this without even knowing it, to be honest. Maybe if I knew, I would have made a change. But really, what a target date fund helps you do is it will automatically rebalance your contributions, typically in a 3-fund portfolio, meaning domestic stocks, international stocks, and bonds. It will automatically rebalance the contribution percentages the older you get to retirement. Because typically, the older you get to retirement, you no longer want to be in that growth accumulation phase. You want to be in the growth, in the maintenance phase, right? So you want to protect the investments that you already have, which means typically going more into like a bond structure versus strictly domestic or maybe even international. But I didn't really like this because the target date fund I was in was doing like 30% international stocks. And to be completely honest, at my age, 32, and especially if I were younger at 24, I don't really care about international stocks or bonds. I want to be able to grow my money as aggressively as possible, which leads me to two things. One, it all depends on your risk tolerance. My wife, for example, is very risk averse. She doesn't like taking risk. So I think a target date fund for her makes sense. I try to go in and make the rebalancing myself. I try to be sort of her financial advisor, but for people like her that maybe don't want to take on too much risk and they want to just set it and forget it, a target date fund can be great. People like me, I tolerate risk very well. I don't mind the swings in the market. If I gain 30,000, if I lose 30,000, that's okay with me. I'm looking at the long game. If you zoom out, you'll see the S&P generally does well, as a lot of long-term investments. Think long-term, okay? Don't think short-term. You're not going to make money in a week, but you might make money in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, so on and so forth. Second thing, regarding international stocks, I've read, a couple of books already, and I think that the point makes sense. Back in the 70s and 80s, when investing in international stocks was important, it was because, to do business in China, for example, you had to go and set up shop in China to do business in China. But now we live in a completely digital world. It's completely different. You can be sitting at your home here in Florida, and you can be selling products all across the world. So there isn't really a boundary anymore. And I feel like with US sort of being the standard, if we're doing bad, odds are other stock markets will also not be doing great either, okay? It's not like, and I'm sure people will prove me wrong, but I can't really envision a world where if the US is doing so poorly, oh, thank God I have my international stocks, so they're doing significantly better. Maybe a little bit better, but if I just put all my money into domestic, I think over the long term, again, I'm very risk tolerant, I can grow my money more. So make sure you go in there, look at what your 401k is invested in, and pick what's right for you. Recently, this is like only a month ago, I took that target date fund and I put everything into the S&P 500. I'm using Fidelity, so the fund that I chose was FXAIX, I believe, that tracks the S&P. And for me, that's good. And I put all my money in there. You can do a rebalancing. They'll take care of everything for you. You're not taxed. Now I have everything into the S&P 500, no longer a target date fund. Of course, as I get older, maybe that will change. But for now, I'm young, I'm 32. I'm being aggressive with my money. I'm trying to manage my money well, and I think this is a great position for me to be in. The next thing I have here is to max out your Roth IRA, okay? So your Roth IRA is money that you won't pay tax on when you retire, okay? Unlike your 401k, which I'm not paying tax on today, so that when I retire and when I withdraw that money, I will pay tax then. There's a whole conversation that we can be said about this, depending on your tax bracket, what you expect you'll be in when you retire. But for all intents and purposes, the Roth IRA, you pay tax today, so you're not taxed when you pull that money out. So it's a great investment vehicle because who doesn't want tax-free money? So I highly encourage you to max out your Roth IRA. I believe that the max limit is $7,000, but here's the catch. You need to be below the income limit. Okay, so if you are below the income limit, you can go ahead and make a contribution directly to your Roth IRA. In Fidelity, you literally just open their Roth IRA account, you put money into that account like a transfer from your bank to Roth IRA, and then you need to invest that money. It's not enough to just move the money from your bank to your Roth IRA. You need to then go into your Roth IRA, pick a stock, invest it. For me, again, I'm doing the S&P 500, and make sure that you're investing that money, okay? Now, if you're above the income limit, you need to make sure that you do not directly contribute to the Roth IRA. One thing I learned sort of the hard way is Fidelity, for example, won't notify you if you are above that income limit. They'll let you go and put your money directly into the Roth IRA, but for any amount that you invest, if you're over the income limit, you will be penalized. I forgot the exact penalty figure, but every year when you do your, I think it's when you do your taxes, you will be penalized for the amount that you are over if you're over the income limit. So instead, you need to do something called the backdoor Roth conversion, which sounds illegal, it sounds sketchy, but I promise you it's not, and it's very simple to do. You literally open up another account. So for people over the income limit, you'll have your Roth IRA, and then you can open up a traditional IRA. You will put the money into a traditional IRA, and then you will convert the traditional IRA funds into a Roth IRA. But something else that Fidelity doesn't tell you, and unless you know, you need to also make sure you sign a Form 8606 form. Fidelity also will not send you this form. You need to download it yourself and give it to your tax consultant, right? This is to make sure, and I just wrote a note here, it's the IRS's way of keeping track of your non-deductible IRA money so you're not double taxed when making that conversion to a Roth IRA. You've already been taxing this money. You don't want to be taxed again when you move it to your Roth IRA. The point is to allow that money to grow tax-free, and you can remove it when you retire, and now you've essentially, removed that barrier of the income limit, and you can continue investing in a Roth IRA even if you're above that income limit. So a great thing to do. Highly recommend doing it. I can definitely go into more detail about each one of these points. Again, these are just things I've learned by watching videos, reading books. One of the recent books I've read recently was A Simple Plan to Wealth. Great book. Another book I'm currently reading, I think it's called, oh man, The Investors. I can't believe I forgot the name. But it's a very good book. I wish I can remember the name. The Intelligent Investor, maybe? I think that's the name of the book. Anyway, it's a very good book. It's a thick book, but it's really, really great. Highly recommend it. Okay, number 4, an HSA, a health savings account. There's not a lot to be said here, okay? We all have medical expenses that we have to pay for. Obviously, when people are young, they might opt out of health insurance because they're young, we're healthy, we're not really paying a lot of medical bills, right? A couple of things you need to keep in mind for an HSA. You need to be enrolled in a high deductible health plan. Okay, this is something that your employer might be sponsoring, and they'll allow you to do, and you can go ahead and make it every year when you do your your employment, when you're selecting your benefits, you can select the high deductible health plan. 3 really great things here. It's a triple tax advantage account, okay? Money in it can be tax deductible. Money that grows is tax free, and the withdrawals are tax-free for qualified medical expenses, okay? But here's a very important thing, like the Roth IRA. It's not enough to just put money into an HSA. I mean, you can just contribute directly from your bank account to your HSA and just have it sit there, and it kind of works just like a normal bank account. But the best thing about it is you can invest that money. Okay, make sure you invest the money. When you make that transfer from your bank to your HSA, take that money in the HSA and invest in it. And you can already guess what I'm investing in, the S&P 500. So this is money that is growing like a regular investment. And guess what? When I get to the age where I can start withdrawing, actually, I think you can do it at any age, but when it comes time that I'm probably starting to go to the hospital a lot, I have a lot of medical bills, I am opting to pay my medical bills now out of pocket, so later on I can use that as a savings account, money that has grown tax-free as an investment to be able to pay for medical bills. And the best thing is if you keep the receipts, like just now, if you watched my video the other day about me being a hypochondriac, I just paid for an urgent care visit, okay? It was $500, and it's probably cost so much because of the change in my plan. But if I keep that receipt, when I'm older, I can withdraw $500 completely penalty free. Okay, so it's almost like I'm giving myself a refund in the future of all these receipts that I have, and it's kind of free money. Like, there's no reason not to do it if you have the means to be able to do it. Of course, a lot of these things, you have to live below your means, because right now you're probably thinking, man, I gotta max out my 401k, I gotta max out my Roth IRA, I gotta max out my HSA, which for single it's $4,000. I think for married is $8,000 for the family plan. So you have to live below your means, manage your money well. But you're making a sacrifice today for your future self, and your future self will thank you a lot for the HSA. It's a great thing, triple tax advantage. Make sure you invest that money. You won't regret it. The last 2 things here. Number 5, automate consistently. Okay? I literally, up until like a year ago, not even, maybe a couple of months ago, I was manually withdrawing money from my bank and making investments. And I changed that, okay? Now in Fidelity, I just set up an automatic deposit every single month in the first of the month, and I just invest the money. That way I don't forget about it. And the best thing is, by the time I see my checking account, the money that's there is money that I know that I can use because it's already been deposited. So it's like I'm seeing the net amount of money that's mine. I don't need to think, oh, I need to put some in Fidelity, or I also don't run the risk of saying, I'm not going to put in this month because of XYZ reason. If it's already been put in, I know that I can just live on the money that I see on my app, right? My Chase app, for example. So I highly encourage you to start automating. And if let's say you're someone that's even younger, maybe you haven't even graduated from college, start investing small amounts, maybe $10 a month. When you're young, 18 years old, I had people on Reddit that were messaging me, oh, I'm 18 years old and I feel so behind, and I'm telling them, you have no idea how many people would love to be 18 years old, even thinking about investing. Because I'll tell you one thing, I was not even thinking about investing at 18 years old. I was thinking about just having fun at, graduating high school, the summer leading into college. I was not thinking about money at all. And I really didn't start taking money seriously up until like 27 years old. That's like honestly 27, 28 when I got even more serious about it. So from 24 to 28, I was sort of investing 401k, but I wasn't really too serious about it. And that's why I'm reading you this list, so you don't make those same mistakes. I probably could have had way more money invested now if I followed what I'm telling you today. Automate consistently. Doesn't need to be a crazy amount. If you can do $10 a month, that's great. If you can do 50, that's great. 100, anything. Just automate, put a little bit in there, and I promise you your future self will thank you. Live below your means and just spend the money on the things that you want to, and everything else, just figure out a way to make it cheaper. Okay, the last one here is invest savings. And this is one of my favorite things to do. When I graduated, I had student loan debt, okay? And I was paying $500 a month on that debt. When I paid that off, I paid my debt aggressively. And some people might say, oh, I'm $500 richer now. I got that $500 back that I don't have to pay for debt. So now let me go buy that new car. Let me go get that new clothes. Let me go on that crazy vacation. You know what I did instead? I put that $500 extra into investments. I mean, that's $6,000 a month. Not $6,000 a month. That's $6,000 a year more that I get to invest because I paid off that debt. Okay? Anytime you find a hole in your budget where you can save money, invest the money that you save. I was paying $180 on this car when I was leasing it. Once I paid the car off, you know what I did? I took that $180 and I added it on top of my automatic monthly contributions. If you are saving money on, maybe you used to spend $50 on streaming services every single month and you decided to cancel them, take that $50, invest it. Anytime you find an opportunity to save, take the savings and invest them. It's really that simple. And all of this is under the assumption that you are living below your means. I'm not saying you have to live so frugally that you can't have fun. But there is this YouTuber that, again, I'm just terrible with names today, but I like what he says about invest in the things that matter a lot to you, and everything else, just find a way to just make them cheaper. Like, I love traveling, okay? When I travel, I do like to spend money on, right? I do like to spend money on traveling. But like I said, my car, I've been driving my car for 8 years, and I do not plan on getting rid of it until it just gets rid of itself. Okay, I'm not gonna go and get the latest car every 3 years because it just looks cool. I don't care to impress anyone. I want to impress myself. I want to have financial freedom. I don't want to try to retire early. Honestly, I love my job, but I want to try to accumulate as much wealth as possible. So I'm gonna drive my car till it hits the ground. The clothes I wear, I get these shirts at Target. I'm not saying, and I can get the same exact shirt. Like, I could have told you this was from Lululemon and you wouldn't have known, but it would have been 8 times the cost. So make smart decisions, right? I don't care about really the clothes I wear. I don't care about the car I drive, but I do care a lot about traveling. So I am gonna spend a lot in traveling, right? Or for example, I do like to spend on my home because the home is where I live, sort of my sanctuary for my wife and I. Invest in the things that matter to you, and everything else, don't worry about impressing people. Don't worry about keeping up with the Joneses. It's not worth it, okay? Once you can detach yourself from that, not only will you be financially free, you'll be just free yourself. Your confidence will improve, and everything in life just kind of works. So with all that being said, 6 things that I covered: increasing your 401k as quickly as possible, changing the investments in your 401k, maxing out your Roth IRA, taking advantage of an HSA, automating your investments, and investing savings whenever you can. I really truly hope this video was helpful. I'm really happy that I made this video because I'm in a point in my life where I can actually share this information. When I was 24 years old, I could not have made this video, and I know that I still have so much to learn, but I'm constantly learning. I'm watching videos, I'm reading books, I'm talking to people, and that's why I'm even able to make a video like this. So if you're young and any of this advice helps you, let me know. If you're older and any of this advice helps you, let me know. Do you want me to talk more about any of these things that I outlined? Is there maybe one thing you want me to go deeper on? I will try my best to do that. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an expert by any means, but these are just things I've learned throughout the years that I'm hoping I can, instill that wisdom into you. So with all that being said, again, I'm so happy I was able to make this video. It's something I've been thinking about for a while. It was so cool to see the feedback that I got on Reddit, because it's almost like I validated the idea before I even made this video. So that's all I gotta say. So happy investing, live below your means, become financially free, become free yourself, and you will see how life just gets better. I promise you. Don't live for anyone else. Live for yourself and your loved ones. That's really what matters in life. That's the people who are truly free. And with all that, I hope you all have a great day. See you next time.